Public service announcements, also shortened to PSAs, no, not the card grading system, are something you have likely seen at some point in your life, especially back when cable television watching was far more commonplace and less dead. Japan, in typical Japan fashion, is a little extra when it comes to these PSAs, as Japan is in many other facets of media. This makes them especially memorable to those who grew up and live within Japan. So, allow me to introduce a brand new Iceberg series that will be exploring the eclectic history of Japanese public service announcements. And let me tell you, I have looked into a plethora of public service announcements created for the Japanese populace to compile an iceberg that tackles the nostalgic, the obscure, and the downright disturbing. I will also be looking at some urban legends that involve PSAs that are either lost or may not exist entirely. I'm looking at you, Hitogata. And if you're a fan of lost media, then rejoice, because there will be a lot of lost PSAs covered within this series, especially as we get deeper in the iceberg. The topics, in natural iceberg fashion, will only get darker and more obscure as we go along. And so, without further ado, allow me to introduce you all to Japan's Public Service Announcement Iceberg, Part 1, curated by yours truly. Joruri. This is a fairly notorious lost PSA in Japan, almost as famous as the mystery of Hitogata. And while Hitogata has yet to be confirmed to exist, and the mystery is solely based upon the accounts of those on sites like 2chan, Joruri has solid documentation of its existence. Well, almost solid, I'll let you guys be the judge. The ad is said to feature a kabuki doll used in Joruri theater, as it targets people in a dark alleyway and beckons them to come closer. When people do agree to come closer, the face of the doll morphs into a demon, which to me is similar in appearance to a Hanya. The doll is said to become more aggressive and shout "come on" as text appears on screen. Towards the end of the commercial, text on screen appears that reads something along the lines of "let's never keep up with catch sales." The PSA is meant to spread awareness of the threat of catch sale scams in Japan, a Japan that had yet to be exposed to the more advanced scams of the internet. There have been a number of sightings documented on 2chan threads, and all the accounts are very similar to each other. There's also a more detailed account found in this blog post. But now, enter the commercial yearbook. These publications existed in Japan throughout the 80s and 90s and document commercials of a specific year as well as the cast and crew involved. It goes without saying that these commercial yearbooks can be very beneficial to lost media searches. It's within one of these catalogs that an ad strikingly similar to the description of Joruri was discovered within a 1992 yearbook. Here, you can see what resembles a doll in a demon Hanya-type mask in the small image provided. The ad listed was titled Karakuri Doll and was created for broadcast within Aichi Prefecture of Japan. That last piece of information is interesting because some accounts of Joruri claim they recall it being an ad commissioned by the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. The yearbook provides additional information that correlates to previous accounts. The screenshot provided even has a text overlay that says "no," and this style of edits were mentioned by people online. There are also additional phrases listed. These include phrases that translate to "face of prajna" and "bad business method." The word prajna, to my understanding, is the Chinese pronunciation of Hanya. With all this catalog information considered, it is likely that this ad is the mythical Joruri ad that the internet has been searching for. Though this is not confirmed and the ad itself still remains lost, though it does have the benefit of some kind of substantial proof of it existing, which in turn narrows down a specific time frame and company responsible for production. These are things that cannot be said for Hitogata.
Can you clearly say, no? Producer Fidia, beware of fraudulent sales practices.
And here we are again with another lost Japanese PSA. Lost Japanese media, ladies and gentlemen. It's kinda my thing. I enjoy researching it. The Japanese commercial wiki has a chart differentiating what the two ads could be if they are different. One is likely a PSA, though it's kind of unconfirmed what exactly it was a PSA for. The wiki just lists it as being related to undocumented life forms. Maybe extraterrestrial life, endangered species, something like that? I don't know. The other ad, that's said to just be a hand cream or some kind of cosmetic product. So, what are the similarities? Greetings are magic. Aisatsu no maho. The very first thing I did when figuring out what to research for this iceberg was attempting to get to the bottom of what PSAs were considered the classics. In other words, the nostalgic ones that many Japanese people recall seeing growing up and remember fondly. Or just remember. Among the most prominent and nostalgic I came across was the Greetings Are Magic PSA by AC Japan. Launched 12 years ago in 2010, the purpose of this PSA was to educate children on the importance of using proper greetings throughout their daily lives. It was intended to exhibit the importance of respecting elders, pregnant women, etc. through polite communication. The ad has a lot of animal-related puns and is overall very cheery. Honestly, I think the puns are kinda cute, stuff like konnichiwa instead of konnichiwa, like wan, like the dog noise, bark bark. Bark is wan in Japanese, if anyone doesn't know. And another one is arigato usagi instead of arigato. Usagi is Japanese for rabbit. Just silly stuff like that. Now, the reason why this one stands out so heavily in the memory of many citizens of Japan is its timing. It's really, really bad timing. You see, this ad launched right before the 2011 earthquake disaster in Japan. Following said disaster, and something only Japanese residents there at the time could recall and experience, is the heavy withdrawal of advertisers following this disaster. Due to this, the majority of ads played during this time were AC PSAs, not actual advertisements for products. Aisatsu no maho was among the ads played heavily during this time. Because of this, it is nostalgic, but also heavily mocked. And why was this? Well, primarily because of how jovial and upbeat this ad was following such a horrific event. It was seen as really inappropriate and in bad taste, to the point that people sent in letters to AC Japan complaining about the advertisement. This resulted in an apology letter released on behalf of AC Japan following the negative reception. Now, the ad itself is fine, it's simply the timing of everything that made it so notorious. I would imagine that seeing this ad air over and over throughout the day would become a bit grating as it is. Imagination Whale. This public service announcement from 2002 addresses a serious topic in a very clever way. 1 minute and 30 seconds in length, it begins with a teacher in an elementary school classroom instructing her students to draw and create whatever they like. We see pretty typical drawings up until they focus on this lad right here who's just straight up summoning the void. This causes the teacher and school staff to be concerned and are seen looking at the drawing the boy created. We then see the teacher showing concerned parents the drawings before showing the boy in his room as he is yet again creating more pages of nothing but dark, aggressive voids. We then see the boy at a hospital creating countless pages of darkness and various doctors overlooking them with urgency and concern. It's also inferred that the boy is no longer attending school. During the second half of the advertisement, we see the boy in a hospital room with a nurse who appears to suddenly realize something as she begins putting together all the pages the boy filled. This becomes a group effort as we then see the pages being put together in the school auditorium. The boy is seen finally stopping as the pages are finally pieced together. What do the papers reveal and display? A black whale, with a single paper missing. We then see the boy holding the final piece. So, what is the message of this PSA? One element can be the issue of supporting a child's creativity and imagination. The message isn't really understood until the end, though in a society driven by societal duty and work, I can see how imagination and creativity can become overlooked and suppressed as children get older. I can see how responsibility can come to override creative liberties, especially with how early responsibility is given to young people in Japan. 70% water. Here's one I find particularly interesting in that 50% of the efforts in this PSA's production are likely lost media. Allow me to explain though. In the early 2000s, AC Japan made the decision to collaborate with the Ad Council of the United States. Collaboration efforts with other countries have been done in the past, and this specific case was not unique in that aspect. The ad itself features an early CG human made of water. At the start of the ad, the body of water is clear and clean. Text on screen appears that says 70% of the human body is water. The water then becomes dirtied and the body itself collapses in distress. More text then appears on the screen that says the water we pollute will eventually come to pollute your body. This suggests that polluting the water around us, the water that we need to survive, will eventually come around and pollute ourselves. Now, clearly, this is an indirect way of promoting taking care of the environment and keeping our sources of water clean. Topics related to taking care of the environment are very commonplace in Japan, as the country takes recycling, littering, and everything of the sort extremely seriously. This is partly because Japan is seen as immensely successful in their recycling efforts and are somewhat of a success story in that regard. For that reason, continuing to educate future generations is a high priority within Japan. Now, for the lost media. The 70% water campaign is said to be a collaboration effort with the United States. This has been stated around the web, however, information specifying and supplementing this is sparse. There are comments and posts stating that an American equivalent to this PSA aired in a few states. I have also seen claims that people recall seeing this ad in a mall. I have yet to find much supporting information regarding this, but if you personally recall seeing this PSA or something similar in the United States, please let me know in the comments. Maybe we can flesh this mystery out a little more and possibly find this elusive English variant. No one is coming home. A lost PSA by the Japan General Insurance Association. Airing around the year 1980, the ad displays the outside view of an apartment complex. All of the units have lights on, aside from a few in the middle that are completely dark. The ad focuses on these specifically, as the sound of a car crash can be heard. This is then followed by an ambulance siren and the narrator stating that nobody will be coming home that night. The television advertisement still remains lost, only described through accounts on the internet. Though newspaper advertisements have been found, one showing the apartment complex in question. This newspaper was able to credit the creator of this ad as the Japan General Insurance Association. As of right now, the full ad still remains lost. Chemistry is heading to the unknown world. This PSA, having aired in 1993 and 1994, was once lost media. The ad was created by Tokuyama and features psychedelic DNA-themed imagery. There's also shots of the human body as well as bombs. The intended message is the issue warning of the direction of future scientific advancements, for they were venturing into the unknown, as the on-screen text suggests. Tokuyama themselves are a company focused on chemistry as well as electrical advancements. Fun fact about this one, towards the end of this video you can see this white silhouette of a human. This is very similar to a print ad by Tokuyama that features two human silhouettes. In this one sole regard, it is very similar to Hitogata in its key attributes, and some even thought this print ad to be a screen cap of the real Hitogata for a short time. It's not. There is a version of this advertisement that was only broadcasted within Yamaguchi Prefecture in 1994. This specific variant of the ad still remains lost media. And this specific case is a case of lost media that was based upon eyewitness accounts and only eyewitness accounts for quite some time. It was not until the 2011 discovery of a 1995 commercial yearbook that the ad was honed in upon and recovered, thus providing a success story in Japanese lost media. A little more courage than you know. This public service announcement dates back to 1986 and was created by AC Japan. It addresses the issue of bullying and speaking up about the issue if any children watching were a victim of it or witnessed the bullying of a fellow classmate. The commercial begins with various middle school students standing together as if posing for a class photo. All of them are wearing the same mask. The camera slowly zooms in on a child in the middle who then takes the mask off. The mask is described as a mask of indifference, and taking off said mask is meant to represent the students no longer looking away from the issue of bullying. This ad features a song by the late Showa idol Minako Honda, who was very popular during this time. There was also a print ad which is documented on the official AC Japan webpage. The Super Mario Fire and Traffic Public Service Announcements. Super Mario is a beloved video game character well known throughout the world. He's basically the Mickey Mouse of video games at this point. Back in 1989, however, Super Mario was a brand new, heavily pixelated phenomenon that caught the attention of many children, especially within Nintendo's home country of Japan. It was at this time that Toei Animation, known for anime like Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, and Fist of the North Star, were brought on board to create 2 short animated films to spread awareness of fire and traffic safety. These were titled Super Mario no Shobotai and Super Mario Kotsu Anzen. The films served as public service announcements that were shown exclusively in schools and had no official release. The short films followed normal Japanese families in the normal real world as they faced the dangers of the aforementioned issues and were educated and assisted by the Mario brothers themselves. Also, I'm fairly certain that Bowser almost hits a kid with his car. This is going by the cover of the traffic safety video, as this one is actually partially lost media. I don't doubt it though. In Japan, children become self-sufficient at a much younger age than they do in other cultures. For this reason, teaching children proper traffic safety is especially important. This goes for fire safety as well. The children in the fire safety video itself are seen by themselves throughout a lot of the video. There's also the high amount of people who still smoke cigarettes within Japan. Smoking is seen to be a cause of fire in this PSA, and that reflects a real issue that could come about. Anyways, using popular anime characters in public service announcements is something we will see again later on in our little underwater exploration here. This is something that has been done quite a few times in Japan's history, especially when addressing children.
Kokeshi doll PSA.
And here we are again with another lost Japanese PSA. Lost Japanese media, ladies and gentlemen. It's kinda my thing. I enjoy researching it. This is a fairly notorious lost PSA in Japan, almost as famous as the mystery of Hitogata. And while Hitogata has yet to be confirmed to exist, and the mystery is solely based upon the accounts of those on sites like 2chan, Joruri has solid documentation of its existence. Well, almost solid. I'll let you guys be the judge. The ad is said to feature a kabuki doll used in Joruri theater, as it targets people in a dark alleyway and beckons them to come closer. When people do agree to come closer, the face of the doll morphs into a demon, which to me is similar in appearance to a hanya. The doll is said to become more aggressive and shout "come on" as text appears on screen. Towards the end of the commercial, text on screen appears that reads something along the lines of "let's never keep up with catch sales." The One Piece hand-washing PSAs. Remember how I said popular characters are frequently used in PSAs? Literally 10 seconds ago? Well, here's another one that's pretty well known, featuring characters from the insanely popular anime and manga One Piece. This one is pretty well known and pretty self-explanatory. There are actually different versions that feature different main characters from the series. The animation is pretty minimal and has the characters speaking directly in the camera with very little movement. It's likely that animation from the show was reused to get these PSAs out pretty quickly. And what is the call to action? What is the issue that is being addressed here? To wash your damn hands! That's right, this ad was aired to aid in prevention of the spread of a certain disease that disrupted literally everyone's daily lives about 2 years ago. The use of popular One Piece characters likely got the attention of children and was intended to motivate them in the direction of proper hygiene and to ensure that they take the proper time and effort in washing their hands correctly, and also frequently. I don't think anyone here needs to be told how crazy things were a couple years ago. We're still kinda dealing with it. Someday it'll be something that we'll tell our kids and they'll be like, wow, seriously, that sounds crazy. Because, it's such a prominent and influential time in history. These PSAs still reference a recent issue that's still being dealt with, but they'll likely serve as a time capsule years down the road, and I find that particularly interesting. The Disappearing Sand Statue. If you're familiar with my Do Not Search Iceberg series, you may recall me discussing this one already. The mystery around it is so well known in Japan that it's essential to this iceberg as well. So this is another environmentally conscious PSA that specifically tackles the threat of the rising sea levels from global warming. The ad itself is short and impactful, featuring two bodies made from sand, one resembling an adult while the other is a small child. The camera remains on the same shot throughout, though the adult sand statue eventually collapses and is washed away by the ocean waves. Only the child statue remains. The commercial in itself is well done in its brief narrative and does well to provide the viewer with an impactful takeaway. It's an urban legend surrounding it, however, that made the PSA gain attention. Focus on the bottom right side of the screen in the waves. You'll see a dark figure emerge before once again being submerged in the water. This happens around the 8-second mark in the ad. Some think it looks like a human arm reaching out as if it's someone drowning. Depending on perspective, it could also resemble a full human figure entirely. Though some just think it's part of a surfer that they forgot to cut out of the shot and nothing more. The mystery will probably never be solved or clarified, though. No more. Copyright law is extremely strict in Japan, far beyond what's commonplace in the West. Despite that, piracy and bootleg footage of movies are still prevalent and exist throughout the country. It's because of this that the No More series of PSAs came about. Produced by eigakan.org, they feature a dude with a literal camera for a head. Yes, you could even call him a camera head, who educates the viewer on how illegal and bad it is to engage in and support acts of piracy. In other words, if you're a fan of something, go support the official release. The visuals themselves are quite memorable, though I'm not sure if it had much of an effect on the whole piracy issue, especially with, the internet. Hitogata. And now for the moment many of you were likely expecting. When it comes to Japanese PSAs, Hitogata has caught the attention of many outside of Japan due to its mystery and search efforts. This one is possible lost media, though not confirmed to actually exist. Being another case with its foundation laid by Tuchan accounts and nothing concrete like a print ad or catalog entry, this PSA is seen as simply an urban legend to many in Japan these days. Something taken seriously in its early days on the internet, though not so much anymore. For those unfamiliar, Hitogata is a rumored lost PSA that is said to have aired late at night anywhere between the 1980s and early 2000s. It's said to display two white silhouettes that fade in and out in a synchronized fashion as the sound of railway crossing sirens can be heard. It is said that something along the lines of every 2 seconds someone dies appears on screen, though the accounts and phrasing does vary. AC Japan has been contacted in regard to this ad and claim they have no association with anything remotely like this. Hitogata is speculated to be a PSA for railway safety, due to similar accounts of the railway visuals and sounds, though nothing has been confirmed despite the search going on for quite some time. It is possible that something like this does exist, maybe it was only ran briefly and in a specific area, but for now its existence is unconfirmed. If you would like more information, I highly recommend the Lost Media Wiki article as well as their official Discord, as search efforts were active on there and now documented. The Bruised Doll. This is a PSA that shows up pretty frequently on disturbing Japanese PSA compilations on YouTube. A little while back, when I was following the Lost Media Wiki's search for Hitogata, I combed the internet in search of similar PSAs. Throughout my time searching, and even as I did research for this series, my mind always went back to this PSA and the doll's face and the ad's overall message. The doll itself is more of a robot, as it's meant to display the vapid and ingenuine responses of an abused child who claims that everything is okay. that their bruises are from an accident, etc. It's not an unpleasant ad visually, though we will get into some pretty unsettling ones later on, but there is this one shot of the parents tightly gripping the doll as she speaks, and that in itself leaves me with an unpleasant feeling upon seeing it. The PSA wraps up with the doll being replaced with a real child who seems genuinely happy as the parents are no longer gripping her. The uncanny appearance of the doll, as well as the uncomfortable issue being addressed, makes this ad really stand out. When seeing these kinds of PSAs, I truly hope they made some kind of positive impact on any abuse victims who saw them. There is the Star of the Forest. A very unique PSA that makes use of puppetry similar to a Jim Henson project of the 1980s, such as the Dark Crystal or Labyrinth. Well, it's more of a statue than a puppet, but it does give off that aesthetic, I guess. Actually, upon further research, I found that this is a famous doll by the doll maker Yuki Atae. The creatures themselves are called green spirits. The works of Yuki Atae are actually in a museum in Japan, and it's pretty interesting, something I did not know about until going down this little rabbit hole. Back to the ad, though. The PSA has a very straightforward message against the destruction of forests. The little elf people don't really move at all during the ad, they just kind of stand there, void of any movement, as they watch people cut down the trees of their forest. Later on, in the short 15-second ad, we see the foliage getting ripped away by a torn paper effect, quickly and effortlessly. We then see the elf still staring, not moving, but now a single tear sliding down its face. Text appears on screen that reads, "The Earth's forests have been decreased by 50% in the past 100 years. This was as of 1999 when the ad was broadcasted. This little elf creature not moving leaves more of an impact, I feel, than if it had elaborate Henson-esque puppetry movements. He's just kind of sitting there watching, as if there's nothing he can do to stop the deforestation, and that's pretty sad. Japan is a very mountainous country with few valleys and flatlands that one would see in other countries. These mountains are filled with lush temperate forest and a lot of unique history and culture that comes with each prefecture and region of Japan. There's a lot more to Japan than just Tokyo and Kyoto, much more really, and I never even thought of the threat of forest destruction in Japan at all until finding this PSA and it bringing it to my attention. I did look into this issue a little bit, however, and Japan seems to be faring pretty well as far as deforestation, as over 70% of Japan is forest and only 3% of it has been lost in the past 21 years. This is according to globalforestwatch.org. Shoes. Very simple and to the point. This ad shows a wide variety of different shoes. Under each pair is a name and an age. You hear passing cars as you see this, eluding the intended message of the PSA. The shoes vary from the heels of a 24-year-old woman to the business shoes of a 34-year-old man. There's even the sneakers of an 11-year-old boy. The kindergarten school shoes of a 4-year-old are also shown. At the end of the commercial, it is revealed that these ages are how old the shoes' owners were when their lives were stopped due to a traffic accident. The sound of traffic comes to a complete halt as this text appears on screen. Greasy Mermaid. The issue presented in this PSA is not one commonly seen as a threat or an issue in other places in the world. It kind of speaks to the safety of Japan and priorities as far as public service announcements go. There are common trends that I have witnessed in what PSAs in Japan seem to focus on, and that's something I'll get into more as we go deeper in the series. Though, for now, let's talk about this one. So, Greasy Mermaid, also known as Mermaid. The message of this PSA is to not dump cooking oil in your sink because it can inevitably damage marine life. The ad is more bizarre than anything. The visual of the mermaid getting oil dumped on her is kind of triggering to me. I don't like being oily. It reminds me of being a teenager. Moving on. The music paired with the visuals is so odd, and the issue is so niche, and the idea that this was something that was such a big issue that AC Japan thought to make this ad it's just all so very odd to me. I mean, yeah, I'm sure this is an issue, but is it as big an issue as trash in the ocean or oil spills? That kind of stuff? I'm not really sure. Portraits. So this is not something I knew about until watching this ad, but apparently tuberculosis is somewhat of an issue in Japan. It's apparently been of increasing concern since the Meiji period, at least according to this PSA. The ad begins with an ambassador for the anti-tuberculosis efforts walking through a room full of Meiji-style portraits who cough and glitch and stuff. Many of those in the portraits died very young of tuberculosis. 2 specific examples shown had died in their 20s. According to this PSA, and as of the year 2013, the current number of tuberculosis deaths is about 2,000 a year, which urged this PSA to be created. Again, this kind of shows how Japan's priorities vary greatly compared to other countries. Things like this likely would not get much attention at all in the United States. Not enough to warrant a nationwide ad campaign, that is, at least that's my assumption. I did, however, look into Japan's tuberculosis statistics, and deaths have gone down dramatically since the 1950s and makes up for only 2.8 deaths per 100,000 people in the past 2 years. And now you know random statistics about tuberculosis in Japan. Something you likely did not expect to learn in this video. I'm sure you learned a lot of weird stuff in this one. Anywho, this concludes part 1 of Japan's PSA Iceberg. It is made by me, and me watching all these ads and, figuring out which ones would be the tip of the iceberg. My phone just fell. I wonder if you'll hear that. I'm not sure. Anyways, this is the video. It's over. I hope you liked it. Again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I hope you guys look forward to the more niche, weird stuff, because we're going to be digging into that when we're not, at the tip of the iceberg. So look forward to that. As you can see, I never script an outro. I just kind of talk into the microphone, but yeah, hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! And of course, I would like to thank everyone and anyone and all the people who have supported me on Patreon. Please believe me when I say that you are supporting me doing something I love, and for that I am sincerely grateful and happy, and I think that's wonderful, and you guys are wonderful, so yeah, let's read the names. Thank you to Quetzalcoat FC, I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, Grand Tactician, Andrew LaPena, VHS Witch, Airfire, Good with a Stain, Kevin, Jojo, Soko, Jordy Kirk, and Bishonen Knife. If I pronounced any of that incorrectly, please feel free to just let me know and I'll correct it next time. But yeah, thank you again.